Now that we're live.
Hello.
So I'm gonna post it in the Skype chat. You know the Skype cabal which I have lined up. Anyways, so we have like three videos. With the ghost in the shell kind of hypocrisy, and I have from the same outlet. I kind of wanted to keep it consistent, and if people in the chat have something to say, I want to get them involved. Just gonna quickly post this on one of the Gamergate groups because I think they kind of like that stuff.
Well, it also
Um,
helps to give a context in case you've been living under a rock like me, and
yeah,
live action
yeah,
American version of Ghost in the Shell is coming out, and they cast Makoto the Major. I'll just go with the Major as Scarlett Johansson. Now, of course, you got some groups that consider it whitewashing, thinking that the Major is Japanese, so they should have gotten a Japanese woman to do it, or an Asian at least.
yeah, and I kind of looked up. I haven't seen the series itself. I have to admit that, but I tried to look up at least some facts about it. I tried to find out her actual race, and it
She
wasn't
doesn't have
mentioned.
one. She's an android.
Exactly,
That's the whole point. I mean, the only part of her
exactly.
body that's organic is her brain and spinal column. Everything else is artificial. So
Yeah,
that's
and
kind of the amusing thing, since at least I've only read the original manga, so, and then seen the original movie. God, but anyway, yeah. I mean, with the Major, she was never given a particular race, and then I guess her name was, what was it, Makoto, and that was just a code name, so we don't know what her real name is, our original
yeah,
one,
Motoko or something.
Matoko.
Yeah,
Let me actually.
something.
Now I want to say Mizuhara. That's LSR.
Anyways, for the context of this whole,
Oh, Kusanagi.
yeah,
Matoku Kusanagi.
yeah, because the whole thing is that the media has been perpetuating the thing where Hollywood is whitewashing. Now, there are two recent examples I can think of where they actually did this, and that's Exodus, Gods and Kings, whatever that name was, where they had Christian Bale and Joel Edgerton as Egyptian people, and you had what's Egypt. The movie with Ryan. Hold up.
That recent Egypt one that bombed.
Yeah, and both of those movies bombed, and there's a reason for it, because people thought it was stupid. Because having clear white people in such a setting is just stupid, and people are voting with their money.
Well, that's what they allege. The real reason is there's no interest in these ancient Egypt fantasy movies anymore. Notice how you've seen similar types of movies like John Carpenter bomb as well. So
Gods of
it's like,
Egypt. Well,
yeah. I mean, just in
was it?
general, like the ancient Egypt, most of the Greek stuff outside of like ones like Troy, those tend not to perform as well these days because there's not as much interest in them.
Yeah, because the superhero genre has kind of taken over. That big blockbuster space.
Yeah, that's what's the popular thing now. Give it to Marvel to know how to market their stuff, and DC desperately trying to.
Yeah, so we're gonna go through the first video. Um, I'm gonna screen share this, so for those who are actually watching, have something to watch on our just our avatars. So here, and I'm gonna turn off on the audio so everyone can hear it. And we're gonna just say stop if there's anything you want to comment on. Hopefully, it's not
Uh,
too loud. So let's try and continue.
Now, one of the things that's not being talked about very much.
You can hear this, right? Black Knight?
Yeah,
You muted
I'm just going to
yourself.
mute. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Well,
Just
if there,
people don't have to worry about me. If I talk, then they don't get ear raped.
okay. Well, if there's anything relevant, just shout out and comment on it, and I'm gonna pause the video.
Now, one of the things that's not being talked about very much in the Sony hack emails is this idea that we might have a new Bond, and he might actually be black. Okay. In fact, Amy Pascal, who's Sony co-chair here, said Idris should be the next Bond in one of her emails. Now, no, we don't report on the emails, but this is innocuous. It's not a big deal, and everybody understands that this was a possibility. People were joking about it even before the emails came out, right? So that sounds like a fun possibility. I watched The Wire. I loved him in The Wire. I've seen him in a number of movies. He's very suave. He's from the UK. It just makes sense in a lot of ways. Now, obviously not like the other Bonds in one particular way. Nobody's missing that detail. The guy who seems to have focused on that a lot is Rush Limbaugh.
He was white and Scottish, period. That is who James Bond is. And I know it's racist to probably even point this out, but the franchise needs to get with it, right? The franchise needs to get hip. The franchise needs to get with the 21st century. Well, that's right. We have 50 years of white Bonds because Bond is white. Bond was never black. Ian Fleming never created a black Brit to play James Bond. The character was always white. He was always Scottish.
When you start a sentence with, this is probably racist, you should stop right there. Don't.
I just wanted to point out that that is a stupid commentary from Cenk's part right there. Because he's ignoring everything with that comment, sorry. What do you think of the video so far?
Well, I guess, both sides do have the valid point. I mean, would Ian Fleming want a black person to portray James Bond? I mean, that would be up to him. So, I mean, at this point, it's up to the people who own the intellectual property to decide what's best with it. But if you go by precedent, you could make the argument, oh, he's a white person, so you want to stick with that. Now, of course, you don't have to, of course, and you can go with whatever race you want. You can make him a pygmy if you want it, if it's marketable. But of course, what's the Young Turk guy is, he's starting out just by dismissing him by saying, I know it sounds racist, but yeah, well, it's kind of, you don't want to start out with that, because if you do that, then, chances are you're going to say something that people are going to say is racist, as opposed to just flat out saying it. So it sets you up to have people just automatically discredit what you're saying, as opposed to at least listening to it first.
Yeah, and I'm more in the camp if a character has been written a certain way, you should stick true to that, and at least find someone as next to as close as you can to that character, which has been in description. That's my personal opinion. So changing either the gender or the race, I think personally is stupid. Now I know people have different opinions than me on this, but I'm quite adamant on this point, where this goes to comic books, and just movie series in general, and art in general. I don't know what your thoughts are on this.
I guess it depends on the length you go, because it's like, yeah, you can say, different races, but on the other hand, you had like how many different, like you had I'm picking up feedback, so.
Oh, sorry, I can turn off. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, I mean, it's like if you want to get into the race, it's not really race as opposed to skin color, since you've had Englishmen, Irishmen, Scottish, all portray James Bond, whether it be like Dalton, Brosnan, Connery, respectively. So the issue is, I think it's not so much, the race itself, it's the skin color and how you imagine them that people are having umbrage with.
Yeah, fair enough. We can continue with this because there's a red or a line or whatever you want to say in English. There's a point to all these 3 videos which I want to kind of point out. So there is one.
Don't finish the sentence. Don't finish it, right? Just word for the wise. But Russia's usual is not taking our advice. Now, listen, has Bond been white up until now? Yes, of course. We all know that, right? But he's a fictional character. It's not like you made Thomas Jefferson black.
I want you to remember that sentence because that's kind of important right here. He's fictional. He's not a real character. So
it's James Bond. He doesn't really exist. It's from a novel. In the novels, he was white. We get that, right? But it is certainly possible that the next Bond, we've had many different Bonds. I mean, you could argue Daniel Craig. That's not no. Earlier, it was Roger Moore. Pick that one up out of a hat. Okay, so no, it can never be Daniel Craig because Bond is supposed to be a redhead. Roger Moore's a redhead, right? So no, Bond's always supposed to be a redhead. I mean, you can make that kind of, I know white to black's a little.
Just a quick comment. Roger Moore isn't a redhead, and Sean Connery was the first one. Just FYI.
More different, right? But he can be anything he wants. The real question here is, why does it bother Rush so much? Who cares? This is the kind of reaction that they had when somebody suggested that there could be a black Santa. Right? They were like, no. Heads explode. There is no black Santa. Again, I hate to break the news to you guys, but Santa is also fictional. We can make him anything we like. Yes, normally he was drawn up as a jolly fat guy who's white, right? You can make him a skinny Asian if you like. The world's open to us. So if they think that they'll get good box office returns and he'd make a great Bond and they'll make more money, hey, Rush, we call that capitalism, isn't it? Hey, I know it bothers your racist ass, and that's probably why you won't go to see the movie. But the rest of us are not like you, and we might enjoy things a little shaken, not stirred at Bond. Shake it up a little bit, get it? Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah, and that was that video. So remember his responses right here. He's fictional. He's not playing a real character like Thomas Jefferson or whatever he said. And what else did he say? Yeah, Black Santa should be a thing and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
He doesn't say it should be a thing. He says that, it shouldn't be a problem and shouldn't bother people.
Yeah, but basically. So let's go into the next video. Ah, crap. God damn it. You remember this? Michael B. Jordan being cast as Johnny Storm?
No, because no one cared about that movie.
Yeah, true, but the thing is with Fantastic Four, Johnny Storm is a white character, and he's supposed to be twin with Susan Storm, and here Susan is actually adopted, and Johnny Storm is black in the new movie. So let's go ahead and listen to the logic here.
Michael B. Jordan has just been cast as the Human Torch. In fact, the movie, The Fantastic Four, is already in post-production, and people are livid about the fact that there is a black man who's been cast as Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch. Now, he avoided social media and the internet in general because he just did not want to see what people were saying until he realized that, hey, there is a race component to this, and I just kind of want to check the pulse of society and see what they think about this. And what he found was, of course, a little discouraging. People, especially huge comic book fans who have been following this comic for a very long time, are upset at the fact that the movie has broken the tradition of the blonde-haired, blue-eyed superhero, and they've moved on to an African-American man. Now, here's what Michael B. Jordan had to say about all this drama. He says, sometimes you have to be the person who stands up and says, I'll be the one to shoulder all this hate. I'll take the brunt for the next couple of generations. I'll put that responsibility on myself. To the trolls on the internet, I want to say, get your head out of your computer. Go outside and walk around. Look at the people walking next to you. Look at your friends' friends and who they're interacting with. And just understand this is the world we live in. It's okay to like it. So I read his entire response to all the criticism he's been getting, and I think it was a very well-written response. He was actually very sympathetic to those who were criticizing him being cast in the movie. And he says, look, it's tradition, and now all of a sudden things are changing and it's a little uncomfortable. But you know what? It's 2015. And when you really think about it,
it's the current year. Just throwing that in there. That seems to be a trend these days. I don't know if you noticed that, Knight.
What? Quoting the date? Quoting the date?
No. It's saying it's 2015 or it's the current year. That's supposed to be an argument. I don't know if you've been following all this stuff, but anyways.
Some of it.
Okay, let's continue.
This comic started back in 1961. Things are obviously very different, and I think it makes sense for things to evolve as time goes on. Christian, what do you think about this? Make your point.
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, I just feel like that nowadays people are too sensitive. Like people live in these little bubbles where they.
Part calling the cattle black, just pointing that out on TYT. That's projection. Also, this guy is supposed to be the boyfriend of Anna. So yeah.
They think like their parents thought, and their parents thought like their parents thought, and it's just like some people need to pop that bubble and just, like you said, take a look at the world around them. I mean, people are different. Like we're all made up of the same thing, but we're like so different in so many ways. And sometimes people just have to open their eyes and see that. And I think it's great. The way he handled it was great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So much class in the way that he handled it. Andy, what do you think?
Yeah, it was a really well-written response. It was well thought out, and it was not reactionary, I think, in a lot of ways. I do think that we, as the media, or some extension of the media, do give a lot of credence to people on the internet, in chat rooms. Nobody uses chat rooms. On Twitter, YouTube comments. We always say, hey, let's go check the pulse of the nation and go see what people are saying on Twitter. But that's not a really accurate representation also
It's a great
of
point.
the entire dialogue that's going on. It's a very small group of people who are, quite frankly, shitheads a lot of the time, and they sort of get off on being social agitators and being shitheads. And I think that the thing we have to just know is that while there are some people who are out there who are very, very hostile, that's not an accurate representation of everybody. And I think that going forward, hopefully those people, we won't give them so much credence.
That's such a great point. The squeaky wheel always gets the attention. And oftentimes when we go on Twitter, we focus way too much on the fake outrage, and we think that that's symbolic of what's going on in society. It's not necessarily true. Now, describe a time that you felt the need to stand up for yourself, Christian.
This was a couple months ago, I think, at work. This is the one that.
I would like to point out that this has nothing to do with the actual quote or anything. So let's just go ahead and say some racist stuff you guys experienced.
First one that I could think of. So there was this lady, I bartend. So there was this lady, she had a few drinks, had some food or whatever, and I had dropped off the check. And it was just sitting there, and she was just having a conversation with somebody else. And it was like time for me to get out of there. My shift was over. She was just waiting. I went back and checked, nothing. Went back again, checked. And then finally I went back and checked. And she's like, stop coming by. I haven't signed it yet. And usually the mild-mannered me would usually be like, just tuck my tail in between my legs and like just walk away. But I was like, well, I'm trying to get out of here, and you're holding me up, right? I said something like that. So I was like, oh, I was kind of impressed. And she ended up leaving me like a great tip afterwards. I was like, maybe she respected me.
Wow.
Yeah, all right.
But I usually don't do that. I'm usually very mild-mannered. I don't really
I like that. I like aggressive.
My heart was beating and I was real nervous, but I was like, yeah, I'm glad I did.
Oh, you've stood up for yourself around me a few times as well.
Damn right.
Andy, what about you?
A couple of weeks ago, my friends and I were dressed up as old women, and we went to a bar, and this bartender just kept coming around, and he was just like testing me. I don't know. You know, standing up for yourself is not funny. I think that it's, but I will say, I'll try to be honest and real, is that a lot of times, you know, you're dealing with, especially in this industry, it's all like very subjective, what you think is interesting, what you think is good or right or funny, or where a story should go, where a piece should go. And there are people who are in positions of authority who also have their own preconceived notions for what they think that the piece or whatever the content should look like or should say. And I frequently, the older I get, the better I feel saying, fuck you guys, and just kind of going and doing what I think is right, what I think is funny. And, and so that's a really wonderful thing. I think as you get older, at least as I've gotten older, you settle into that a little bit. You become more confident.
You stop caring
and you stop
so much
like,
about what other people think, and you kind of go with your own convictions. Absolutely. I'm going to give an example of a time when I stood up for myself, and it actually was a disaster. It happened recently, and we were...
Well, the video goes like this. But anyways, they kind of have the same talking points at... well, what do you think? They're kind of saying the same thing Cenk is saying.
Oh, it's kind of.
Sorry.
Could you pause that, please? Thank you.
Yeah.
Just remember to do that whenever we pause the video. Thanks. Let's see. Probably the main 2 points that I can pull out of this is the whole idea of fake outrage, where in this case it's, we're outraged over your outrage. So it's kind of like they're just recycling the same point. And then probably what I really got out of that first anecdote about him being a bartender is that assertiveness is good. But then, of course, you can then say, well, doesn't that entitle the people who think Johnny Storm shouldn't be black have the right to be assertive and think that, if they put their foot down, people will listen to them? So it's kind of that double-edged sword where it boils down to assertiveness is good, but only for what I like.
Yeah, exactly. And this is kind of the most important clip right here, because remember these 2 videos where they are kind of defending this, and now it's a ghost in a shell. Oh, sorry. God damn it! I forgot to do the audio. There we go.
Scarlett Johansson has been cast in an upcoming movie that's based on Japanese anime referred to as Ghost in the Shell. Now, people are upset about it because Scarlett Johansson will be playing a Japanese character. As you guys know, Scarlett Johansson is not Japanese. She's not.
Yeah, as we kind of pointed out, as you did, Knight. You can talk now. I took the feedback away. She's not Japanese. We don't even know the identity or her race. The only thing we know is that this takes place in Japan. So, anything you want to point out with this?
No, I think we just let the video run and then we can comment on it afterwards as opposed to just pausing. But that's my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Not even Asian. She's as white as can be. There she is. She's beautiful, but she's not Asian. Now, people are wondering why it is that she's being cast in an Asian role when there is a plethora of awesome Asian actresses out there that would do a phenomenal job in this movie. Now, the actress will star as Major Motoko Kusanagi, a special ops human cyborg hybrid in a live-action adaptation of the popular Japanese anime series. Okay. Now,
no, wait a minute. He's also not half cyborg. I think this casting is unacceptable.
Unacceptable. Look, this has been an ongoing issue in Hollywood, right? And it drives me insane because whenever people move here and they overpopulate my city with their acting aspirations, right?
Oh, thank God. I thought you were going to say the Ford. So I was like, Anna.
No, it's not.
Actors, I got you.
I want to pull them aside and be like, do you understand how the system works? Okay. There's a small circle of Hollywood celebrities, A-list celebrities that get cast in every role, even if they're not Asian, even if they're not black, it doesn't matter. Like they'll somehow get cast in roles where they're not really appropriate. Right. Mm-hmm. And if you're starting out as a new actor, like there's no chance for you. So the big argument is, all right, well, we have this movie coming out and we want to draw big audiences. How do you draw a big audience? Well, you need a big name. But how does an actor or actress become a big name unless you give them a shot? like think about Slumdog Millionaire, right? Can you imagine like two white people playing Slumdog Millionaire's characters? No, I mean there
almost
were
could, right?
But there were,
knowing Hollywood. Yeah, of course that's not the right thing to do.
that was a breakout movie for the two main characters. I forget their names in the moment.
Slightly ironic.
Slightly ironic, but they were incredible in it. The movie did really well. I mean, I remember that movie was probably one of the best movies of the year.
Frida Pinto.
Frida Pinto, yes.
Yes.
I wish she did more stuff because I thought she was a phenomenal actress. But it's this vicious cycle, okay, where these production companies just refuse to give maybe not so big name actors and actresses a shot.
And I get it. So I'm not saying this is an excuse. I'm saying it as an explanation. So they think, well, look, if you're going to open a movie big, you need big stars attached to it. And you might not know this extra layer, which is that if the big stars are not attached to a movie, it just flat out doesn't get made. So this movie had a Japanese actress attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
It might not exist. Now, I'm not saying that's right. I think that's ridiculous. Now, they'll have excuses, the Hollywood executives, who, by the way, are here liberal Hollywood. Yes, the actors, a lot of them are liberal, right? The executives are not so liberal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they'll have excuses of, well, I have studies here showing that this actress or actor will bring in this number of, ticket sales.
Mm-hmm.
And so I need that ticket sales. Otherwise, I won't be able to afford making the movie, right? But a lot of times they get detached from that, and they'll pay Arnold Schwarzenegger for another couple of decades a lot of money that they cannot prove that he brings in, right? Why? Because, hey, I'm not going to get fired for putting Schwarzenegger in a movie. I'm not going to get fired for putting Scarlett Johansson in a movie. But if I put $100 million into the movie and I didn't attach a big name to it because I wanted to do the right thing and have an Asian star in it, I could get fired, and I ain't going to get fired.
Well, I mean, look, so far 65,000 people have signed a petition to get an Asian actress to play this role. I completely understand their frustrations, and we have a long history in this country with casting the wrong people for the wrong roles, okay? So in the 1970s, there was this very popular commercial about the crying, they called it the crying Indian, which crying Native American, right?
Yes.
Let's take a look at it. This person is not Native American, but I'll tell you what his true identity is after we watch.
We can just
some people are natural.
God bless the 1970s and 80s.
Homeboy was Italian. Like second generation Italian, okay? I mean, it's awesome. And then there was this epically bad movie that John Wayne was in called The Conqueror, right? It was a huge flop. And he was cast to play Genghis Khan. Take a look at this.
I refuse to favor you.
Betrayal to Temujin.
He looked more Klingon than Asian.
So it seems like we haven't learned enough.
How does Genghis Khan have a Western accent? So Hollywood's been doing this for a long time. You would have thought we would have gotten a little bit better, but apparently we still have a long way to go.
Okay. So thoughts on this?
All right. Well, I guess obviously the elephant in the room is the clear hypocrisy and how they basically just want, affirmative action for casting roles where, it's perfectly all right to have white characters cast as blacks or other minorities, Asians, whatnot, but if you try to cast a white person in a role that's supposed to be a minority, it's wrong. So you have the big thing there. Probably one of the more nuanced things that I picked up was the fact that they said, oh, well, if you don't give new actors a chance to shine, they won't ever. You also have to remember the type of movie they were put in. I believe when they used Slumdog Millionaire, it had a budget of, I believe, $15 million. So it would have been a relatively low risk. I mean, to put, unknown people in those sorts of movies as opposed to something like Ghost in the Shell, which would be at least $100 million. So it's like, yeah, I mean, the more money you put into it, the more you want to increase the chances that's going to be successful. Plus, if you want to also look at that, just look at the previous example with the Fantastic Four with Michael B. What was it? Johnson. Jordan. Sorry.
Jordan.
In that they got relatively unknown people to do that, and it bombed. So they make it sound like, oh, well, if you just whitewash something, it's going to do terrible. No, it's because the movie's terrible. Let's face it, John Wayne was very hit or miss. I mean, when he was good, he was good. When he was bad, oof, he was a train wreck. It was like,
Yeah, you see in the chat, Mr. Fribble. Were TYT ever any good? I never watched any of the content before people started shitting on them. Well, to be fair, they were actually a fairly decent channel once, but they've just been the recent 2-3 years. They just become so regressive. And I wanted to point something out. When they talked about Arnold Schwarzenegger in particular, the guy has been making money for Hollywood since the 1980s. He's proven to give people back on their investment. I mean, he's one of the biggest box office draws ever, and to say that.
I wouldn't say ever, but you also have to remember he's a typecast, so he's only cast for specific sort of roles, where for Schwarzenegger it would be action or then maybe comedy, where it's more of, physical comedy where you need a little muscle. Yeah. So, I mean, to use him as a comparison there, it would be like you can probably say the same about like Sylvester Stallone and stuff like that, although, I mean, he has shown some acting chops with stuff like Rocky.
Yeah. That's true. It's just looking at the first two videos, they're defending Michael B. Jordan breaking the tradition is brave and all that stuff, and they're praising him, and the Hollywood should break the tradition, even with Idris Elba. Because he's not a fictional character, because he's a fictional character, who should care? But here they go completely 180 and say, "Oh, they're just whitewashing," without knowing the character, without even knowing the IP, and they're just gonna blame it on racism.
Yep. Although probably the more amusing nuance to this is that, I mean, most Japanese anime and most people, how they draw anime, they actually draw more on Caucasian designs for their characters than actual Japanese people. I mean, just if you go to Google, put Japanese, white, anime, those sorts of words together, you'll see a bunch of, little info image graphs of, comparing a Japanese person to a Caucasian person, and then showing how that face would then translate into the anime style. And for the most part, the anime style replicates the Caucasian version a lot more. So it's kind of like they're already starting to, whitewash themselves in their own comics.
Yeah, and also I remember, Dragon Ball Z Evolution. People bitched back then because Goku and Bulma, I believe, were two white people. But remember, for fuck's sake, Goku is a fucking alien. And Bulma's race is never even fucking confirmed. I've watched through the Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, and I've seen some of the new ones, but that's irrelevant. Anyways, I know the characters like my backhand. They never mentioned the race of anyone that's human once. The only one you can actually make a case for that's actually Asian is Krillin, which could be said that he's actually Asian. But they made.
Well, maybe Krillin. I'd go more with Roshi.
Yeah, but they made Roshi Asian. They casted Chow Yun-fat as Roshi, and people still bitch. And
I'm just saying that the original character who you can denote what their ethnicity was, since, yeah, I'd probably consider Bulma more of a white person, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole thing. I've said this many times on my streams. But when it's gender swapping or race swapping with current comics, where they gender swapped Thor into a woman, where they have now an Asian Hulk. They have
They always had an Asian Hulk, She-Hulk. She's been around for a while, unless they made one that's just called Hulk. That's a girl.
Isn't she Caucasian? I
wouldn't know. Most of the time I see her, she's green.
Well, I think she's actually white, but there's a new guy. He's called Amadeus something. He's like a brilliant guy, and he became the Hulk for some reason, and he's Asian. And then you have Power Girl, which is supposed to be a clone of Kara, which is the cousin of Superman, which we all know is fucking white and blonde. Is now
Kryptonian.
Yeah, well, you know how she's been Superman, and she's been portrayed. They're white, even though they're alien. They have white skin tone, and this is still for some reason Power Girl is fucking black. That doesn't make any fucking sense. And this is kind of a minor one, but Nick Fury was white as well before they cast Samuel L. Jackson.
Let me actually look at that one. With the Power Girl, I guess if you want to try and make the argument for why they're making these changes, it's that they want to widen the demographics. I mean, it's the whole thing of, they need to figure out how to expand their base as opposed to just seeing this continual contraction of the comic market that's been happening. So this is them just taking a gamble and seeing, basically just throwing something at the wall to see if it sticks.
I know where you're coming from, but still, you could create new characters like a Green Lantern or something else.
Well, the problem there is then you just be creating a new character from an existing intellectual property or source. I mean, you've already done that before. I mean, with the Green Lanterns, you have John Stewart, who was a black man, and he's been around for a while. I'm trying to remember some other.
You also have what's his name, Simon something. He's a Muslim Green Lantern, but he's very rarely used. And we have Jessica Cruz, who's also a female Green Lantern, also very rarely used. We have the most prominent are Kyle Gardner, John Stewart, and Hal Jordan, which are the main Green Lanterns. Well, we also have Alan Scott, but I think he's an Earth 2 or something Green Lantern. Anyways, I'm kind of getting I'm kind of getting into geek territory. But the point I'm trying to have here is the hypocrisy of these fucking people who have no clue about the properties themselves, and then go bitch about something about when there's supposedly a Japanese character being white. There's a big problem when the character herself isn't even white.
Well, the issue is being the devil's advocate again, what they're seeing is they just want a better representation of the various races in Hollywood. So it'd be like kind of affirmative action, Hollywood style. Of course, since this movies are entirely beholden to the free market in terms of what's viable, it's a lot harder to try and implement a system of forced affirmative action in it than, say, academia, where there are standards it can be applied to in terms of giving groups that have been systematically marginalized in the past a leg up. Granted, that's if it's still valid these days, and it's an entirely different argument. Probably. I mean, in terms of the economic aspect, a perfect example of this would have been like the more recent, box office bombs with superheroes where they try to, pander to the multi-demographics, while Deadpool, which is your, perfect white guy flick for, just for violence and mayhem, no message, anything beyond that, it is now the highest grossing R-rated film of all time.
Yeah.
So,
But the marketing for that was brilliant as well.
well, like they knew their demographic and they worked off it. And as much as people might disagree, it was a pretty decent movie.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was an awesome movie. I kind of felt it fell into the trope of being an origin story. But that's just my personal taste. I still I think they did an awesome job with it. I've been wanting to see a Deadpool movie for years since Wolverine Origins movie. I don't know why they sewed his fucking mouth shut. Anyways.
Well, probably the big thing there is that's another reason why, Hollywood has such pull, because, it was Ryan Reynolds who was pushing for them to create a Deadpool movie for years. Same thing with Scarlett Johansson with Ghost in the Shell. I believe, quote me if I'm wrong, she was one of the people behind trying to push to get it made. So it's like,
Yeah, I
to the
think so.
victor goes the spoils.
Nolan was attached for it for some time, or was that Akira? I'm not sure. But we have Mr. Fibble saying all this gender and race swapping of established characters started with Battlestar Galactica remake. I think. I'm not sure if that's actually when this all started. I think it's just it's been a slow burn, and now it's kind of coming to the surface. Also, the Asian Hulk is She-Hulk's Banner's cousin.
No, there you go. I mean, that's kind of a difference between a recast of a character and just adding someone to the continuity. So you got to remember that. If they add, if it's like reincarnation or someone new down the line, you can put that in. But if it's like if it's just a reboot and they're changing stuff, then that's why I can see where people get upset and have umbrage with that.
Well, that's the thing with Michael B. Jordan's character. They completely missed the point with that character.
Well, the whole point is that they're siblings. So, but I mean, no, not really twins. But I guess since it is a reboot, you can try and spin it that that they were adopted. I mean, from family, then what is it? Ugh.
No,
only one was it.
Only one was it. I watched the movie. I mean, it's not an abomination like Batman and Robin or something like that. But it's not a good movie. It's mediocre at best. And
I think the problem there was with the movie itself was that basically just setting it up so that they can make sequels as opposed to having it be its own internal thing that can stand on its own. And I believe that's going to be what's going to kill the reboot of Ghostbusters too, beyond all the other issues. But the fact that they are trying to put the cart in front of the horses is probably going to be the big one. But overall, if you have people complaining about the casting, just reevaluating it. I mean, it's like as long as you say that's a different continuity and not overriding everything else, you can justifiably do what you want. But if you're saying that my version of the character is the only one that matters now, that's when you can fight them tooth and nail and bring out the torches and pitchforks.
Yeah, because watching the movie, I never got the bond between Johnny and Susan Storm, which made no sense because them being kind of close is kind of the glue of the entire thing. So it's just when I just see all this stuff.
I guess the best way you can say it is you can do it. It's just a matter of doing it well. It would be like a good example of it being done well would have been going back to Ghostbusters, Extreme Ghostbusters. It's like the original one was what was it? Well, I mean, in the cartoon, 3 white guys, black guy, common worker guy, they bust ghosts. In Extreme Ghostbusters, you have a girl, a Hispanic, a black guy, and then a guy in a wheelchair. Now, normally, probably this day and age, everyone would be crapping themselves saying forced diversity, and probably had people back then doing the same thing. But the difference was it was a well-written show that managed to take that sort of shunting of forcing those type of characters, but then making them mesh well and still creating a good story and series out of it.
But weren't the original characters?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, you can still keep going with it.
I don't mind having diverse characters or stuff like that, but just ramming things down my throat. I had like 2 streams with just discussing that one topic with Star Wars and how Rey is a Mary Sue because of J.J. Abrams' agenda, and I've seen him quote things that in the future there's going to be a quota of having gay characters or minorities in the movie. And I really have my reservations when someone says stuff like that. I personally think that when I personally thought that, personally think that Star Wars Force Awakens is a fucking abomination of a Star Wars movie. Say what you will about the prequels, they were original and tried their own thing. They might have failed, especially Phantom Menace, but they at least Lucas tried something new, which didn't actually work. But the Force Awakens is just a ripoff of Episode 4, and a Mary Sue in the main role, which doesn't want anyone holding her hand, and she can take care of herself and all that crap. I'm just worried about this Disney progressive crap coming into Star Wars movie, and also in other movies in the future.
Well, that's more of the fault of J.J. Abrams, who was never known for being very creative. Hell, look at the second Star Trek movie in the reboot universe. It's basically his ripping off the Wrath of Khan, although I'm sure that's how he pitched it, and that's how it got greenlit. But yeah, I mean, the issue is, let's see, I guess it's just, like I said, it's how well it's written and if it's overtly pushing an agenda for change. That's why I can go back to like the Extreme Ghostbusters. Clearly, we're pushing for quotas to have it be more multicultural, but because it was still well written and it didn't try to, hijack a general narrative saying everything should be like this, it was able to still be a good series, as opposed to what you see with The Force Awakening, where it seems like it's much more forced and it's just an agenda.
Yeah, it's just when I also see Rogue One. I mean, do you want to watch this video? Because it's kind of relevant to the topic. I don't know if you saw this Wil Wheaton thing.
I'd rather not watch that stuff unless if the people in the stream want to watch it. I'll go along with it. If not, I don't think we should subject people to Wil Wheaton.
Okay,
we have a constitutional amendment in America against cruel and unusual punishment.
Okay, guys, do you want to watch the Wil Wheaton video where he supposedly trolls Star Wars, or do you want to do another topic? There's a little delay, so let's wait for people to answer this. Just write a yes or no, because I want to do what the people want.
Yep, that's what we're here for.
Lunchbox Killer wants to do, it says, yeah, sure. I'm feeling
sadistic against me or masochistic for yourself? Because
it's not, yeah, fuck it, why not? Okay, people will want to see it. It's not a long video.
Let's just let it run then. Be like ripping off a Band-Aid that way.
Yeah. Okay. The headline goes like this, so kind of where it's coming from. Mansplain it to me. Wil Wheaton trolls Star Wars. That's the headline of the video. So just let me set up the audio. I'm not gonna pause it because we would be sitting here for hours if we're gonna stop this crap. So let me screen share this. Posted it to KIA just for the cringe. So here, and the sound, and let's go. Oh.
Hello, ladies. I'm Wil Wheaton. I'm here to mansplain to you everything that is wrong with Star Wars Rogue One, starting with the female protagonist. Who am I supposed to identify with in this movie? It's bad enough that we had to wait however long it is we had to wait for Star Wars The Force Awakens to come out, but they told us that Luke Skywalker was going to be in it. He didn't even talk, spoiler alert. And then Han Solo was in it, but he dies, spoiler alert, and we have to spend the entire rest of the movie looking at a woman who's fully clothed. How am I supposed to care about anything that happens in that movie when there's nothing in it for me to jerk off to? And in most of Star Wars, Princess Leia isn't even wearing a bra, which, last time I checked, was empowering feminists. These things are ruining my childhood. They're taking everything that mattered to me and they're fisting it. Oh, look, hey, look, here, there's more for you. There's that, Ghostbusters. But that's okay, maybe Rogue One is going to change that, so I'm going to put it on, and oh, terrific, another female protagonist. Maybe Star Wars just doesn't care about men, is what I would say if I was a complete moron. Here's the deal, boys. Star Wars The Force Awakens didn't ruin Star Wars. George Lucas ruined Star Wars with the Star Wars prequels, specifically a little movie called The Phantom Menace. Representation in film, television, media really matters. It is awesome that something as beloved as Star Wars has strong, positive, non-sexualized female leads that young girls can get excited about and emulate and grow up to be like. As white dudes, if you have a problem with that, you know where you can go? Literally anywhere in entertainment. Pick a video game, pick a movie, pick a television show, pick the news. Oh, or go to fucking Congress, because we run everything. If you don't like it in Star Wars, too f***ing bad. You'll get over it. I'm Wil Wheaton, and you've been mansplained. Back to you.
Yeah, that guy can get fucked.
Yeah, I can feel the pretentiousness just oozing out on my keyboard. Where's my Windex?
Yeah, again, the double standard here, right here, where he says, "Oh, you don't need a representation," where supposedly he's parodying white guys, basically himself, and then goes after, "Oh, women need representation and something to identify with." The fuck?
Yep, with that one, you can just make the argument, well, they can just make their own stuff. They don't have to take over what's already popular and go with that. But of course they know, with most of the time, just like in video games, when you have like feminists try to design stuff, it is awful.
And again,
I guess it's like he's basically saying we've taken over Star Wars and there is nothing you can do about it. And he's basically right. It's Star Wars. You could have had Nazis be the rebels and trying to fight the Jews, and it would still made $1 billion. I should say the Jew Empire. Whatever.
The thing also is,
I haven't subjected myself to the Force Awakens, so thanks, Wil Wheaton. You just spoil bombed me. I have less of a reason to see it now.
well, to actually say it, there's personally, I don't think there's any reason to actually watch The Force Awakens if you've seen episode
4. Yeah, I haven't
episode 4.
watched Star Wars. I'll be honest. I had no hype for the new Star Wars, so guess I'm one of the lucky ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the whole thing. They want to use existing IPs to broaden their message or what they want to do. I wouldn't say further agenda, but it's just we have this that's already extremely well known, so it's much easier to get it out onto the market. That's why you see them trying to do all these reboots. I mean, I'm still scratching
Yeah.
my head with the Ghostbusters one, but unless marketing really works, it's. Although I'm betting you, my prediction here is it won't be the bomb that people want, but it'll be just barely, it would just make a little bit over its budget back. But then with the marketing, that's what's going to get sunk. So on paper, it'll look like it's successful, but because of all the money they put in the marketing, it would still be considered a bomb because of that.
Just from some things he said, we're represented everywhere in Congress, and fuck the new Ghostbusters, but what he said in parody. Why even bring politics into the shit? It's face palming. And just an interesting fact to all those academics out there. The Ghostbusters trailer is now the most disliked trailer ever.
Just trailer or in general?
The trailer is the most disliked movie trailer ever. So people are not liking the new take on Ghostbusters.
Nope. Well, that's exactly how you don't do a reboot. But that's just my personal opinion.
But the point of him saying, "Oh, it's just misogynists that are disliking this shit," no, that's not the case. If that were true, it would be a very small minority disliking this movie, which it isn't.
No, I think the issue here is, well, like I said, to be honest, since I haven't seen the movie, so I can't actually say. It's like, did Harrison Ford have a major role, and it kind of felt like a passing of the torch between him and the older characters? I mean, the newer ones? Did they at least do something like that so that there was like some transition as opposed to him being just unceremoniously killed off?
How should I say this? All the original characters, they fucked them up in a very bad way. They made Han a smuggler again from being a general in the rebellion, and doing basically the same shit he did in the beginning of episode 4. And
I can see him going back to that. It's kind of its character.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense story-wise. And Luke just disappears for some reason, even though in the previous 3 movies he would never have done that. So you never actually see the Trinity from the first original trilogy on screen. Leia, you'd never see them on screen together. And you have Leia, who's basically hasn't learned anything from the Force. Is still a general, and doesn't have a lot of screen time, and manages to feel Han's death, but doesn't feel where Luke is, even though she did in Empire Strikes Back.
I guess maybe it's a distance thing, and then when you die, you give off a lot more energy, so it's much easier to feel. I'm just pulling stuff out of my ass, folks.
But again, then it would make there's a scene in the movie where Han they go to blow up the 3rd Death Star, basically the Starkiller base.
What, and, third Death Star? Well, I'm not surprised there.
I'm saying it's a copy and paste of episode 4. If you've seen episode 4, you've seen this movie. So when he goes onto the base, they have a son, Leia and Han, and he senses Han, and he senses Han's presence. Oh, Solo, he says. He turns to the camera and says, Solo. But then he goes onto a ramp. Imagine...
Dude, the son or Solo? We need to keep a narrative here.
Yeah, the son of Solo. He's called Kylo Ren. He's actually Ben Solo, but he's calling himself Kylo Ren. He's basically turned to the dark side. And you remember the thin walkway in episode 4 where the stormtroopers or Ben Kenobi takes off the
Tractor beam.
rowdy thing. Yeah, tractor beam. Basically, a long walkway where there's a pit under it. Kylo Ren can't sense his father from 10 yards away, and he shouts. Ben goes onto the bridge, and you can see this a mile away that he's now gonna get killed. And it's such a wasted fucking death of Han Solo. And there's no emotional impact because before this thing on the bridge, you have no interaction between them, so you have no emotional stake in this. And he even takes his mask off before with Rey, which is a Mary Sue of the story. Again, having no impact because you've already seen his face. They explain nothing. For some reason, there's this green alien at a cantina, which is exactly like the cantina in episode 4. For some reason, she has the lightsaber of Luke. Not explained. They go out and say the character even says Han Solo asks, "How the hell did you get that lightsaber?" And this is the laziest writing I've ever heard of. And she said, "That's a fine story for another time."
I believe that's hint for we're going to put that in a comic or a video game.
Yeah, exactly. And they blow up the new government as well, where you have no emotional stake. And when they blow up Alderaan, you have at least some explanation why it's so fucking important. But they blow up like the main seat of the Republic or the new whatever it is. I have no context.
Coruscant?
No, they moved they moved the headquarters or main city or whatever. They moved it to another planet, and they destroyed the entire solar system with the Starkiller base. Basically, a third Death Star that can do more shit, which is so fucking stupid to begin with.
So what, it's like the Sun Crusher from the...
Yeah, it's basically a mix of the Death Star and I said spoilers. There were spoilers in the video of Wil Wheaton. Come on, guys.
You're probably going to want to put that in the description now. I mean, shit. I imagine actually not learn any of the spoilers in the last 30 minutes. Now we have Andy here spoiled the whole goddamn movie for us. Thanks.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you have seen the fourth movie, you've seen The Force Awakens.
I wouldn't have known Kylo Ren was the son of Han Solo. That's more of an episode 5 thing.
Yeah, again, it's such a mess. I'm gonna put spoilers of Star Wars. Come on, guys. The movie has been out for 5 fucking months. Okay, he's kidding. He's kidding. Okay.
I'm pretty sure everyone here was already, well, except for me, for some whatever. God, must just be a miraculous luck. Already knew. Probably already saw a pirated version of it 2 months before release, or some shit like that.
No, it wasn't. Actually, there wasn't a pirated until the few days after. I didn't want to go and watch it, pay for it again because it was such a travesty. As a standalone movie, if you've never seen Star Wars and don't know shit about it, it's a really good movie. But if you've seen the 6 movies, and I've seen the Clone Wars twice, I've seen Rebels now, it doesn't make any fucking sense because it's like a pilot for a series, and JJ has just put more questions like Lost, where they never fucking answer anything. There are. If you had 10 questions going into The Force Awakens, you have 30, 40 when you go out of it. And it's just lazy, kind of goes back to the stuff, just bad character writing, or when you race swap. I mean, I don't even have an issue with her being a female lead, but when you make her basically Yoda with no training, that doesn't make any sense. Because she wrecks everyone. Spoiler alert, she just with no training, she just wrecks Kylo Ren, who has been trained by Luke Skywalker, and the other is Sith or whatever his name is. So it's just, well, when it comes to Hollywood, it seems to be this progressive idea that you need to portray women as strong, capable. And Ray even says to the stormtrooper in this, who's called Finn. One sec. Sorry, my dog. Yeah. Well, we need to have this representation, according to people like Wil Wheaton, who don't even give a fuck about games or movies or comic books to begin with. I don't know what do you think of all this?
I guess you can't say they don't give a fuck about it. I want to go that far. It's just that they don't see it serving the same purpose as you do. So there's just a clash of how things should be done. I mean, with Abrams, he might actually like the series, but yeah, what he's doing is a disservice to how it originally was. Or it's like how you had Whedon say the original trilogy was an abomination, and this is Abrams is the way to reboot it so we can all wash out what episode 1 through 3 was.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's just different viewpoints colliding, but at this point, yeah, the people you disagree with, they're the ones that are able to call the shots.
Yeah, we have Dewey in the chat saying, Ghostbusters, a female-centric movie where a dude is the funniest part. Well, we have to see until the movie's out, to be fair, but from what I've seen in the trailer, it's an abomination. Just looking at it. That's my
It'd be the trailer. It just depends on probably one of the good things that was with the original Ghostbusters was just how you had Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Harold Ramis just able to really interact with each other, and instead of competing for the best lines, they worked off each other. So if it's like if one person was able to do it better, because I think
I actually rewatched it, and I would agree to that because they actually work really well. Because you have the naive guy in naive scientist in what's his name, Dan Aykroyd.
It wasn't naive. I mean, he knew
he's
what
a
he was
child.
talking about. Well,
Yeah,
it's
but
not
he's
just
kind of
that.
a man-child.
Well, I mean, he had the dreams he wanted to pursue. I mean, probably the
Yeah,
big
that's what I mean. That's kind of I'm not saying he's a retard or something like that. Just say he's a kind of a little bit childish. You have the calm, collected guy in Harold Ramis's character. You have the every working day guy who's who kind of thinks all this is kind of crazy.
Ernie Hudson. You're thinking of Ernie Hudson. Well, I mean, it's not just the character types, but it's just how they also interact with the world.
Yeah, exactly. I'm also, but you have depth, and you have Bill Murray, who's just not just a funny guy, but he's also has more to him than Jesus Christ. I'm gonna quote the Transformers here, but more to them that meets the eye.
I think, well, probably the big thing that people might not notice is that, I mean, at least with Murray, Aykroyd, and Ramis, they were all extremely flawed characters. I mean, if you look at the opening scene where, Murray is intentionally just sabotaging a experiment just so he can earn brownie points with a woman to try and date her later. It would be like,
yeah, no. That was funny.
And then, of course, just the general idea of that, they've been the only reason they opened up the business originally was because they were all fired. I mean, I at least know that Aykroyd and
they were trying to
Murray
make
were
money.
fired,
Basically.
so yeah, they were trying to just figure out what to do. So yeah, because they worked at a college, who I think was, and then the new one, it's like, oh, they were going to be. The main character was going to be successful, but she somehow got roped in with a crazy friend, which then caused her to get fired. or whatever, as
Yeah,
opposed to, not because, I mean, if you look at what Murray and Aykroyd did, probably you could say the university had just cause to fire them just because they weren't able to produce anything of substance. So it's kind of like, do you want to put...
Yeah, just pointing something out. Dury in the chat says, the original Ghostbusters was a serious movie with funny characters. The chemistry was awesome, which is a good point.
Yeah, I guess at this point you just have to see, if they can try to replicate that with, whoever these new actresses, whoever the new characters are. Obviously you need to see the movie to say it, but with how it's being set up and, how it's more just with what they're doing, it doesn't look like it's going to have a chance. But you never know. Might surprise us.
Yeah, also regressing a little bit back. Again, looking back at what Wheaton said and older movies where women weren't represented well, where he's basically saying Padme and Leia are shit characters. Now, you can say the acting and was a little bit clunky with Natalie Portman. But her character, she's the one who basically is the smartest senator in the entire republic, and forms the rebellion. For those who don't know, she's basically the founder of it, with the Senator Organa of Alderaan, and you have Leia, who is basically the leader of the rebellion. She's not really the best soldier, but she's a leader. She's basically holding the rebellion together after Alderaan explodes. So again, just because she had one sexy scene in Return of the Jedi, to these regressive fuckwits, it negates everything she ever did in those movies.
I wouldn't say she was, she was one of the leaders in the rebellion. She wasn't the leader, and it wasn't like,
Yeah, I know.
just because Alderaan was blowing up, it was going to shatter without her. So.
Yeah, no, kind of semantic, but you knew what I meant.
Yeah, she was still, willing to fight, and, I guess you could make the complaint that she was like the old "I don't need no man" in even A New Hope, because when Luke came to rescue her in the prison, the first thing to do is, mock him, or it's like when they get pinned in the hallway, she grabs a gun, shoots a vent, and then jumps through it. So she basically takes the initiative.
Yeah, true. But everyone's character through the trilogy, they progress, they change, and you see her becoming softer and falling in love and getting having affection for not just Luke but also Han Solo and other people in even Lando. She was probably hardened because she was the rebel. I mean, there can be many reasons why they wrote her that way, but just
I think the big thing is just more self-reliance, since you are at war, so she was more of a soldier.
Yeah.
Was this new female, Mary Sue as you call her, have any traits similar to Leia, or was it just she was able to just go in places and destroy everyone and that was it?
That was basically it. She okay. Let me just sum up what she can do. She can fly the Millennium Falcon without flying it before. She can suspend it in mid-air and fly it ways that Han Solo never could. She can fix the Millennium Falcon, something Han Solo doesn't even do in the movie. She knows the ship better than Han. She is an expert shooter without any knowledge why. She suddenly is in the third act. She suddenly learns that, or when she touches the lightsaber, somehow holds memories. She activates the Force and then manages to use the the weak mana trick where they release me and I will release you. You know that Jedi mind trick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and without any problem,
Yeah, was it
Without any
established that she didn't have any knowledge previously in like
No.
marksmanship and repair?
No, and the only thing
Well,
we
no,
knew
as in
is
she said she didn't know how to shoot, or
no, there was nothing to say. She knew how to shoot.
well, it wasn't implied,
Because
but they didn't. It's just not implied at that point. It's not like it was her
no,
first
no,
time shooting a gun.
No, it's actually shown. She tries to fire a gun first time, and she has the safety on. She doesn't know that, and has to take the safety off, and just blasts everyone.
Okay.
So, and the only thing we know, she's been abandoned, and she's a scavenger. But somehow, the Millennium Falcon is on the planet she is at, but somehow knows everything about it. She goes on to Han Solo's freighter and knows everything about that, and manages to hack into everything. She knows how to use the Force pull without any knowledge. She knows how to use a lightsaber and defeats Kylo Ren, which has been trained again by Luke Skywalker and the most powerful Sith, whatever he is. And she's
should
basically
technically
flawed.
only be two. So
Yeah, but she basically wrecks everyone except for one tiny moment where she hasn't air quotes I'm gonna use, she hasn't mastered it, the Force, because Kylo Ren just like owns her, but that's like a small segment. Everything else is her just wrecking everyone. And all the guys in that movie are fucking idiots. That's what I get from if you watch it, because I had to watch it 2 times to just see did I really watch the thing I watched, because I really got pissed off after watching it the second time, because I got really pissed. Anyways, I have another video if you wanna go through it, and showing TYT's. I have a few videos TYT kind of want to comment on. So I
which
have them
ones?
off.
If it's Star Wars, I'm going to respectfully decline.
No, it's not Star Wars. That's why I kind of want to move on. I don't want to drone on and bore people. You want to watch it? It's basically a case on Twitter. It's called "Twitter Used to Expose Misogyny." You want to do this?
Twitter exposes misogyny. I'd rather think. Why don't you ask the? If we're going to talk about Twitter, probably the whole Candace Owens affair would be more interesting, since that's still unfolding. But that's up to the audience. Do you rather watch the thing on the Young Turks, or just talk about Candace in general? I mean, and the whole social autopsy affair.
Well, I would kind of if I wanted to talk about it, I would kind of like to have a little bit prepared with a few archives. Well, we could do that another stream, because I like
we can
to
at least. Well, I mean, it's like people know the gist of it. I mean, hopefully.
I mean, if
do you have a link to the stream itself, so I can at least read the chat? So.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait, I think I see it. So, is this it?
I did post it earlier. So.
Okay. Killed on me.
What?
Google hates my guts for whatever reason.
I just wanted to do another two. I wanted to kind of do this on TYT centric. There's I don't know which one you want to do the first. Twitter used to expose misogyny, and Bill Clinton versus Black Lives Matter. Those are the 2 last videos.
Why don't we do the misogyny? It's just so mind-numbingly just banging our heads against the drums. I would avoid that. As the Black Lives Matter one, that's much more nuanced and should be more interesting to watch.
Okay,
that's my opinion.
We can do that. I have it in that order anyway, so we can just follow that.
Just skip the.
Do you want to watch the entire thing first? And
I would rather just skip the misogyny one, just because it's just going to be. It feels like we're not going to do anything. We're not going to learn anything new.
Okay, just to give you some, let me include it in the description so you can One sec. So people can watch it and listen to this mind-numbing thing. Oh, God damn it.
Yeah, I mean, if the people in the chat want to watch it, well, I'm not going to stop, guys, but it just seems like, oof, let's save our time and headaches. Since I can probably already tell you, it's like Twitter is used for misogyny. You can post stuff where you can say sexist things because you don't have to use your real name. That sort of crap.
God damn it. Anyways, the thing isn't that it's sexist, because the entire thing is there's a woman who posted something, and there's a guy that replied to her and trying to be sarcastic. Oh, tell me more. And he goes to he's being polite and explaining it to her, and that's somehow they changed the title from mansplaining to misogyny, of course, because as you see, I pointed this out in the comments, but they changed it.
No, let's just skip it. That just seems like an exercise in futility. So let's just do the Clinton. That's going to keep it interesting.
Okay. Let's see. TLDR misogyny is okay. Okay, let's go through this.
Interrupted by Black Lives Matter. Now, we've seen in the past that Bernie Sanders has given the mic over to them. Trump made fun of him for that, but a lot of African-American activists really appreciated that, saying, when's the last time you saw a politician let a young black woman take the podium and speak and air her grievances? What a wonderful thing he did. Well, the Clintons are not of that mind. When young African-American activists interrupted a fundraiser that Hillary Clinton was doing, she was promptly escorted from the building. Okay, Hillary Clinton did not take her question, did not answer her question, and they had her removed from the premises. Well, Bill Clinton's going to be a challenge. But before you watch that, I want you to watch the context of this. He gets challenged on Hillary Clinton calling African-American kids super predators. Now, I want to show you the clip from the 1990s when she, in essence, did that, and I will give it context as well. Here, watch.
Not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel.
Now, they claim, no, we didn't mean just African-American kids. It could have been white kids too. I mean, sure. But the line super predators was used back in the day to demagogue against African-American kids. So that's a historical certainty. So you can go back and look at it. You don't believe me? See the context the super predator line was used. It was almost always about African-Americans. In fact, Hillary Clinton later apologized for using that line. And look at what she said at the end. They have to be brought to heel. So we know how you bring people to heel. And so it was ugly language. Now, when Bill Clinton was asked about that, here was his response.
I talked to a lot of African-American groups. They thought Black Lives Mattered. They said, take this bill because our kids are being shot in the street by gangs. We have 13-year-old kids planning their own funerals. She don't want to hear any of that. You are defending the people who kill the lives you say matter. Tell the truth.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Take a Black Lives Matter activist and point your finger at her and say, oh, yeah, we were right to do that crime bill. Now, the whole super predator line was in an effort to aid that crime bill that Bill Clinton passed. And that crime bill put a historic number of African Americans behind prison bars. Okay. Now, Michelle Alexander has written about that. She's probably the top expert in the country about the imprisonment of African Americans. She's the one that pointed out that there are now more African American men in jail than there were African American men in slavery. So it's amazing. And her exposition on that crime bill and the Clintons' role in it is something you should definitely read, and I've talked about on the show before. And she says, no, that crime bill did not have to be anywhere near draconian as it was, and then it's the way that it was applied wound up discriminating against African Americans in a tremendous way. For example, as we've shared with you before, whites and blacks in this country smoke pot at about the same rate, but blacks are arrested at 4 times the rate, and off you go to prison. So they created this prison industrial complex. Now the Clintons are not solely responsible for that. They aided and abetted the Republicans who couldn't wait to do it. See, there they were. See, Bernie Sanders can't work with Republicans. The Clintons can work with the Republicans to put a lot of black people in jail. So good for them. Outrageous, people will say. What do you mean outrageous? That's a fact. As I'll pull a Bill Clinton. That's the truth. That's the truth. Look it up. Go read Michelle Alexander. You'll find out the truth. So now, when question on that record, outrage. Can't have it. Hey, know your role. Don't make me bring you to heel. And so far, Hillary Clinton has gotten a great majority of the African-American vote. Has she really deserved it? Find out the truth. That I agree with Bill Clinton on. Find out the truth.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Hang on. Look, Mike.
Oh, sorry. There we go.
Okay, probably the big things to take away from it are, of course, the context of the crime bill, what was going on then, and then, Clinton's role in it. He mainly just focuses on the fact that, the bill predominantly targeted African Americans, and that implies that the Clintons believe, black people should know their role. I guess probably the first thing to comment on is how just the Black Lives Matters. I mean, at this point, they're good at getting attention, but beyond that, they don't really have any substance in terms of what to do after they do get attention. They air their grievances, but beyond that, there's nothing really beyond the movement. So it's like they know how to get the attention, but beyond that, I mean, just going into why he thinks it was wonderful for Bernie to give up the podium. Well, they basically charged up there and took it over. And from a political standpoint, it was really the only thing Bernie Sanders could do. It might make him look like a coward for, just, ceding his territory to them, but he didn't have almost negligible black support in the Democratic Party because, the Clintons have that huge what's the right word? Just support from the black community. So he needed a way to show that he cared about their issues as well. So it's kind of like if you kick them off the stage, that kiss any chance of that goodbye. So it's kind of like it's not that he did it by choice. If he had the black community on his side, more likely he would have just had those women ejected from the stage as opposed to letting them speak. Now, as for the actual thing with the gangs and the super predators, I mean, what they were mainly focusing on was gang violence, where I'd have to get up the actual statistics on that one, but in terms of just that sort of crime, it was more predominantly African American in terms of the shootings and drug use, which was, really tearing apart the local communities, which is why, you had Clinton saying, I had the black community leaders begging me to do something, which he uses as a way to try to justify the crime bill, even though it clearly overextended and there was discrimination where it targeted, minorities more than white people. But in terms of at the time, they were just trying to figure out something to get done to at least try and curb the violence because I forget, it was like at an extremely high level at the time.
Yeah, but I would also like to point out these aren't just arrests. People were convicted of something. So saying that these arrests are just because of racism is so on false because people are getting convicted and arrested because of something they did. Under the drug, like the weed thing, I believe it was, who was it? I think it was Charming Man or whoever it was, pointing this out, that the people, the black people who were arrested weren't just arrested for the weed. They were they usually had something else as well on the record, like robbery or something like that. So that's why that was also in the charge. And for the thing that where Sanders gave them the mic, which is stupid. Why should Clinton or anyone for that matter give a mic over to someone where everyone came to hear them speak, not Black Lives Matter?
I think that's a putty issue as well in terms of just the protest. It's not meant to, get a message across. It's meant to disrupt. And unfortunately, we are going into such a atmosphere unless you have extremely circumstances that, benefit you, like the Black Lives Matters being able to charge Bernie Sanders on the stage. Most of the time, you're just going to get kicked out. So, I mean, in terms of definitely Clinton, Donald Trump, those sort of things, yeah, you will be thrown out since they are private events. Of course, they're going to then make the justification that, they're being silenced, when in reality, they're just trying to shout down what someone else is saying. So it's kind of like, both sides aren't really that good. Now, probably what they didn't show there that probably Bill Clinton really, was the reason he decided to engage them was, I believe one of them had the sign saying either Hillary or him was a murderer.
Yeah.
So that was, if you see, so of course it was clearly related to the crimes bill. So, I mean, if you have that sort of accusation there, and then obviously you believe that's still going to come up, you're going to defend it, since at that point, I mean, it was more of Bill defending his own record than his wife, though. I mean, that's probably why you see in the press why people say, Bill Clinton lost that, even though if you look at just the tape itself, it looks like he just completely crushes them.
Yeah, he does.
To the campaign, to the campaign, it was actually detrimental, because it looks like, he doesn't care about black people, and he's more just stumping for his own ego as opposed to his wife.
Well, the entire clip, I'm gonna try and find it, but it's a 5-minute video where he goes to tell how the bill was passed and why he passed it, not just the 10-second clip they showed there. And the whole super predator thing isn't fucking racial. It's against the people who they would associate with predators. What they mean by that are actually people who take kids and put them in gangs, and that leads to more violence. And that's a problem in at least in the U.S., where predominantly black people or black men are being put in jail because of I don't know if
to be the devil's advocate here, it's I see that it's like they're talking about people in gangs, influencing other disenfranchised youths and thus preying on them. But since the majority of these people were African American or black, I mean, they feel that they're just being it's like the use of the word super predator is like just a new stereotype for them. It's like, super predator, people will automatically assume, it's a black person. So that was one of the main issues. I mean, overall, majority, it is true,
there are
but
also
still.
white people. There are also white people getting convicted. Yeah, true.
It's that same level, and in terms of what they were doing and what probably, the demographics of who Clinton was referring to, whites made up a much smaller portion. So that's kind of why, you had, at least some issues coming out of the black community in terms of the term super predator. Now, one of the other things I'd like to go back on was, in terms of, you were referring to conviction rate. I mean, if you looked up anything with how American police departments work, they are pretty corrupt. If they want to find a way to convict you, arrest and convict you, they will find a way, even if they have to plant evidence on you.
Well,
so I wouldn't say just because they get convicted, that's vindication. You also have to remember that, both like a white person and a black person could be smoking weed at the same time in the same place, but it would just be, the police bust them both, but they're more likely to give the white person just a warning or citation as opposed to, arresting and taking the black person to court. So it's kind of just it's the degree of punishment.
Well, but as I said, the people who are getting convicted with the weed sentence aren't just getting convicted for the weed sentence. They also have usually something else on their record, which makes them being convicted.
I mean, would you have any evidence to back up that claim, though?
I have to find I have to find the video. I think it's an FBI statistic.
Well, it's repeat offenders. That's what you're thinking of. That.
Yeah, it might be. As I said, I'm just pulling this out. I have to find the video because it cites the statistic. It's either Tyler Valle or Charming Man. I'm not sure, but the thing, being in that amount of people getting convicted, it's either a massive problem in the U.S. Police, or it's a problem with the black community.
No, it's a combination of both. Since with the black community, they've been consistently, been just belittled, disenfranchised. A lot of them just feel it's like the system is against them. So that's why you see a lot of them, go towards, gangs, drug use, that sort of thing. I mean, it's probably not only social and culture, but also economical. So you have a lot of issues coming out. And I can say, oh, well, we have these few black people who managed to rise above that, but those are just the exceptions and they don't make the rule. So, of course, with that, you have to figure out how to deal with the root cause. All the crime bill did was deal with the symptoms, and unfortunately, it just ends up blocking up a lot of people. So, as opposed to finding out why they would commit the crimes or do the drugs in the first place, that's what you want to do, as opposed to just think, being the crime bill is more of just a deterrent, which, no one listens to. It's kind of like how with the death penalty, that for the most part doesn't deter people from doing crimes that would make you eligible to be punished by that.
Yeah, but if I can bring something instead of U.S., take a look at my country, Norway, where all people have the same rights. You have free education in even university. All you have to for a semester you have to pay I think it's $70 or something to get the benefits, and to actually register. But that's it, and you have all the rights. But 50% of minorities still live on welfare here, and they are very overrepresented in not only just rape cases, but also in crime in general. I would say the most equal and richest country in the West, it's still a problem.
Yeah, with that one, if I'm going to be devil's advocate for that, unfortunately, I don't have the research or anything to back this up. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And if I'm right, well, anyway, it would just be because, those minorities are exactly that. They are minorities, so they feel it's unless they're able to fully assimilate into the culture and feel like they're Norwegians. Norwegians, sorry. Let's see them, they will probably feel, alienated. Or it's just in terms of also, just culture and upbringing as well. You can give everyone the same sort of equal opportunities, but that doesn't mean people will have the know-how, knowledge, or ability or connections to be able to take advantage of them.
Yeah, true, but you can.
And then you also have the cultural, upbringing where it's people more and more these days are just looking for the easy way out, just easy way to make money, as opposed to where it's the meritocracy. If you work hard, now and just keep applying yourself, you'll be able to do well enough to, just, live life comfortably in the end. Well, here, I mean, I'm not sure how it is in Norway, but in America, for like the past 30 years, it's like it's all get-rich-quick schemes.
Well, it's not like that in Norway, because you can get actually jobs through the welfare system very easily. So it doesn't actually take a lot to get a job here. The unemployment rate is around 4%, and you get actually a lot of money, not to when you don't work, compared to other countries, of course. And
But that's
so
the
getting
impression that you try to get a job, or they just give you money because you're in the country.
if you're unemployed, you get I don't. It depends on. You get also support for your. If you're renting, you get support for car. So you can get up to, I don't know, $5,000 a month, at least, if you're unemployed. And it's not that hard to actually. You can go through your welfare system here and get a job, and get some experience and something on your resume.
Oof,
So
well, with our system, it's a lot more difficult.
yeah, and as I said, that's why it's so strange to see. It's 30 years now. They took a survey from around the 80s sometime, and now, and 50% of the immigrants don't have a job. Who and Norway isn't a large population. We are around 5 million people. So you have to take that also into variable.
Yeah, it could just be the I guess, even though it would seem kind of cliched, but just just racism on a part of the Norwegians, whatever. I feel you're gonna probably Norwegians. I feel you're gonna shoot this down, but I might as well just shoot it out just because it's like you'd rather help out your own people than immigrants first. So put your own country first. So would that be one of the reasons?
I don't think so, because as I said, you can get a education very easy.
I mean, you can get the education. The government will get you all the tools, but I mean, would the government also supply all the jobs necessary, or would they have to go into the private sector?
I mean, the welfare system also helps in with the private sector, so they could get they cooperate with all the corporations in the area to get like either internships or stuff like that. So
yeah, the drive. Again, so if they had the drive to say, I want to be in this market, and they are showing themselves to be proficient to perform in it, it would be like, yes, they would at least get the opportunity, or would they say, hey, or would the government just say, hey, would you be able to give this person an internship? Then it would be up to the company to decide that.
No, it's kind of both, but a person would actually, they kind of look at your resume, what your skills are, and they would contact a corporation, and then you would get an opportunity. Sometimes it's like for 3 months, like a trial period, and you can get a job afterwards, and sometimes it's just permanent.
Yeah, it's like I said, I'm just still trying to wrap my head around. Let's see. I guess if there's a way, it's like if you have an unemployed local of the town as opposed to an immigrant, they both come and there's only one position. I mean, this is really a crude explanation. Also, not even an explanation, but in terms of, let's see, is there a chance of, I mean, in terms of for job openings, let's see, if there's only one and they have to choose between, someone who was originally born and raised in the town and an immigrant, would there be a bias toward the local person? Or would they equally weigh it on a merit alone?
I think it's on merit in that case. Well, if it were based on the discrimination, we have unions which are very, very strict. So if you are in that union, you've been a member on that, and then you actually experience discrimination, shit would happen. You could go to the papers and it would not look good for the company.
All right, so it'd be that issue of public relations then.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, I'd have to look at more data to try and get a better grasp of what's going on and why it applies, because it's kind of here to be it's just part of a cultural or genetic.
Yeah, no, it's kind of. I know you're, but I'm just making the case of Norway, since we always talk about U.S. Since it's 50% of who aren't from this country original, who are immigrants, either first, second, or we're on the people are coming up on the third generation, but there's still such a disparity between the 50% of these minorities, or at least the immigrants, don't have
The only
jobs.
thing I can really think of is that the immigrants themselves aren't doing well in assimilating in where they are now, because like normally, probably one of the older times, you would basically assimilate or die. At least I know in America, I mean, you could still keep your own culture, but you were not able to put that first in terms of where you lived. I mean, you're able to keep it, but it became like a melting pot where you'd have to sacrifice some of it, while more of the immigrants today tend to prefer to keep their own culture first and foremost as opposed to where they move. That's the only other theory I can come up with on the fly as to why you're having such trouble in terms of seeing immigrants finding work or just, assimilating into the country they migrate to. That's
fair
not,
enough. That's a valid criticism, but just an example. When I was in the military, they gave Muslims like a week off when they had their a holiday. What's it called? Eid, or what it is called?
Ramadan.
They have two. They have one called Eid, and they have one Ramadan, and they got both of them like a week off to celebrate that. So it's not like the government is discriminating.
Well, it's not so much that, it's just that they feel they need to keep their culture, because if they don't do everything like they used to do, they feel they lose their own identity and their heritage. I'm talking about more like that. I'm not saying that's the government that's mandating they have to abandon who they were. It's more of just how the people themselves feel.
Yeah, fair enough. I think we've gone on through our topic. Is there anything you want to discuss before we close things down?
Yeah, we basically killed our viewership with that, so I don't really have anything else. Like I said, I think people just prefer the more. I think people just prefer the more the Gamergate stuff than nuanced stuff like immigration and culture.
Yeah, no, I kind of wanted to do this on the end, so people. If people really wanted to hear this, but probably we killed our viewers with that stuff. Yeah, I'm just gonna kill the stream here.
Yeah, I really got nothing else. Probably just more the GG, unless you want to talk about what Valve did.
Well, we can kind of dedicate more GG stuff on the Gamergate stream.
Well, it wasn't GG stuff. It's just what Valve did in general, in terms of they figured out a way of how to detect what was considered a way to hack cheat in games. That was originally just, they weren't able to figure out, and they just sent out a ban wave and included a lot of people who played competitive gaming. So it's kind of that fun stuff. But yeah, if you want to leave it as a cliffhanger for the next one.
Yeah, we could, if you have the link. As I said, we can kind of talk about the social autopsy when we have kind of more sources. This was kind of a little bit more back and forth. What we just discussed.
Yeah, I mean, with that one, it's kind of, we already have the basic information, even though it's more of he said, she said, but it's the MO of the people we shall not name who we do not like. Yeah, so it's kind of like
but we can make him a little more educated when we have the tweets. We can kind of do a little bit of digging and get some actual context into stuff. So that's why I kind of wanted a little bit more free flow in this one. We can kind of discuss
Right,
things.
instead of just shoot from the hip, even though it would just be, we'd be working with the information we have. Although with this one, it looks like both sides are keeping a tight lid on what their respective hands are. So,
yeah, well, I'm gonna close down the stream. We're gonna probably
right.
talk a little bit off air, but yeah, I'm gonna kill this. So thanks everyone for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye.